Canada is America's closest partner. We are cousins. We enjoy the longest border in the world between two countries, and the histories are interwoven with each other. Canada is the United States' leading trading partner, and we share a common military system. We're going to be talking today about what's national debt, what's Canadian debt, how much does Canada owe, how is it measured, and public and private debt, and how that works. One of the key things about debt is debt services, which we call interest. And when countries cover their debt service, they usually sell bonds to refinance the debt. And as the bonds fluctuate in price, the amount of expendable cash changes as well. There is something called discretionary spending, which governments have once they have taken care of the spending which is permanent, and they can't exceed the spending because they are paying too much in debt services. Canada is planning on spending $6.1 billion this year. The thing when you look at debt is to try to compare the total debt that the country owes to other countries that might be similar. So when you look at Canada, Canada's debt to gross domestic product, which is the figure that people use to see how healthy an economy is 106%, which is fairly low compared to the United States at 123%, and China is at 77%, which means that these countries are paying that much of a percentage of their gross domestic product toward debt. Now, who owns the Canadian debt? The pension funds in Canada, insurance companies, the Bank of Canada. But most of Canadian debt is owned by the Canadian citizens, which is a good thing. Now, what's gross domestic product? We talked about it before, and it's a very important factor. And it is the total number of goods and services sold by a company, less imports. In Canada's case, that's $2.1 trillion. In the United States, that's $27.7 trillion. And in China, it's about $18 trillion. Now, those numbers by themselves don't tell you much because they don't tell you how that money is dispersed. For example, China has 1 billion people, over 1 billion people, and they have less gross domestic product in the United States. The way we can tell that is when we consider the size of the population, as I said before, and there's something called gross domestic product per capita. And when we look at this, we see that Canada, each person is $54,000. In the United States, the per capita is $82,000, but China is $12,000, which means once that gross domestic product is laid out amongst the people, it's not that fairly distributed. Another thing to keep in mind is when a country goes to raise money to refinance, they have to do something by going through a credit agency to give them a rating so banks know what to charge them. This is a good thing for Canada. Canada has a Fitch rating, which is a rating company, of AA, which is the same as the United States, which means Canada can borrow money for pretty good low interest rates. To give you an example, China is a AA, and to give you another example, I believe Ethiopia is CCC. So when a country like Ethiopia has to borrow money, it's going to cost them a lot of money. Recently, Canada's gotten a new prime minister. If you like the video, subscribe. We're going to just talk about salient things related to the inflation rate in Canada, which last quarter was 1.90, which was good. In the United States, it was 3.0, and in China, it was 0.5. The tariffs in the United States and Canada is really hitting a real serious problem. There's a potential for 25% tariff on steel and on aluminum. That's really going to impact the Canadian industry. Right now in Canada, housing affordability, rents are extremely high. Production is just, manufacturing is dropping because of a lot of things involving carbon taxes. Inflation is starting to climb, and there's somewhat of a brain drain beginning in Canada. Population is slowing. There is some immigration there. They have similar issues as the United States. 5.5 immigrants entered Canada last year as immigrants, as I said, to a population of 40 million people. And it's going to be interesting on how the shakeup comes with the tariffs and the United States. They've actually begun to take the bottles of Jack Daniels off the shelves in Canada, anticipating the tariffs. So, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. There will be more like this, and you have a great day.